prudential fund manager has a diversification between asset classes, and it's between equities, cash, bonds, property, and possibly some commodities. Now, when we do our studies, we actually see that on a blended basis, a portfolio that's blended between equities and bonds, your return per risk weighting is actually greater than if you were just 100% into equities. Now, I think this year, with bonds being so well demanded internationally, with all the liquidity measures that have come in, both in the US and Europe, as well as Japan, you've seen great demand for bonds. So I think at the moment with South African investors, they think that South African government risk, it's a good risk to take. Volatility is there to the degree that there are interest rate announcements out of the MPC, and obviously we know that with a declining interest rate environment, your bond prices should go up, and obviously vice versa. And I think at the moment where the MPC is heading towards, and I'll allow Tertiary, our economist, to elaborate on that, is that the probability of interest rate hikes in the near to future is pretty low, which means that bonds are potentially a good investment. I think with the liquidity measures in, as I mentioned, in the US and Europe, it's driven bond yields down dramatically. So much so that we've seen that the 2-year German government bond yield can actually fall negative. Now, what that means is that you are actually paying the German government to keep your money safe for the life of that bond. Now, that's effectively a zero return. I think it follows through when in any country you go. Either you're looking at French bonds, UK bonds, yields are extremely low. At the moment, we are still very privileged to have a government bond that yields about 7.5%. I think that's also the case where base rates are. Base rates are quite high with respect to where the developed markets are, and that's obviously based on the fact that they've just been stationing interest rates obviously to prop up their economies. So we are very fortunate in that regard. The total return on the BISA government bond index has been about 12.5% year to date. A large portion of that is the actual coupon flows that you get out of those bonds, and that average yield is about 7.5%. The difference is actually price appreciation of those underlying bonds based on where investors, or certainly where those bonds are pricing in interest rate movements or interest rate cuts going into next year and thereafter.